My name's Jared. I'm here with Miles, and we have an amazing guest today named Lauren Ashley. Miles, tell us more about Lauren.
Okay, let me give you the high notes on Lauren Ashley. Let's start from the top. She's a Nikon ambassador. That's a
Woo,
big deal.
big
She's
deal.
also a mom to just an incredible kid named Noah who has autism, and the
Mm.
story there is really special. She's got 600,000 followers on Instagram, 850,000
What the
followers on
heck?
TikTok.
What the heck?
She's also a survivor, man. She lost a partner very tragically, and that story has really empowered her creativity, her angle on life. She's bold and she's courageous and she's very direct, very honest, very vulnerable in this conversation. The tears actually come pretty early in this chat. But before we switch over, Jared, I also want to plug and let all of our listeners know that she gives us a 10-minute masterclass in the After the Pod conversation. So if you guys
awesome.
haven't already clicked over, join the Photographic Collective. Doors open August 15th, but you can join the waitlist and hold your spot in line right now. And as soon as we go live, that After the Pod will be waiting for you with an entire checklist on how to go viral and grow a social media empire like how Lauren has. So that's what I've got, Jared. What do we think?
It's going to be amazing. Okay, let's jump in right now. Thank you for hanging out with us. We know that your time is really valuable, so
Thank you.
we really do appreciate it a lot.
Happy to be
okay.
here for you guys.
Yeah,
Where are you?
for
Are
us.
you in your office right now? What is this?
I just remodeled my whole basement. My story is kind of a crazy story because I wound up inheriting my house from a gentleman who was a family friend. He was severely autistic. And when he was living, he was like, I know what it's like to have autism. I know what it's like to suffer. You've just been through so much. I will give you my house when I pass away. But I kind of like didn't really believe him, really, because it was like, he's autistic. Like, I hate to say it that way, but he was just like,
That's okay.
I didn't really believe him. And then when he had passed away, I wound up getting a phone call and they're like, you have a free house, basically, and some inheritance money. So I've been flipping my whole house. It's been pretty wild. So I've just been setting up my basement for like a podcast area and then like
Okay.
a family room space.
Cool.
I mean,
I feel like we just jumped into chapter 3.
We
Do you
did.
maybe want to back up and explain that you're not autistic?
I am not autistic. Maybe. I feel like some of us all slightly are, but
Creatives, I think, like if we're not at least slightly, I'm sure that's probably politically very incorrect to say, but I think most creatives, somehow we've got to fall in that
just a
spectrum
little bit, little piece.
bit.
it's usually like ADD, ADHD.
Yeah, I don't know if yeah, like I said, I know I'm gonna make people mad that I started off by saying that, but I don't mean that in an offensive way, but I would think that I have at least nearly every learning disability possible. So, okay, but I know your story, and Jared knows a little bit about your story. We had the coolest chat. This whole thing, can we preface this by saying this whole thing started over a cocktail and a very noisy rooftop restaurant in Manhattan.
Yep.
And me just looking at you and saying, okay, tell me everything. And I wasn't expecting for you to, but you actually did.
Spill the beans.
So we are not sitting underneath the Empire with
In Alice
with
in Wonderland.
yeah, that was wild. A lot of other friends and people hanging out and a lot of noise. So now actually like captive audience. Lauren, tell me everything.
Yeah. So to kind of begin my story, I just want to tell you that if anybody here has gone through anything really difficult, I want you to know that you can go through the fire and still come up on top. And for me, I'm living proof of that. But some people get just so in the moment and then they forget about what could potentially happen for them in the future.
Come on.
So
That's a good word.
Yeah. So I'll rewind a little bit. Very difficult childhood growing up. I had a lot of bad things happen to me as a child. You know, you blame like your childhood past on all your issues in the future. But for me, it really affected me. I experienced something absolutely terrible. Can't really say it over on podcast, but it was so bad. It affected my relationship with men totally. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it could possibly be. And I went to college, you know, go and get that safe life. But I just always felt like there was something missing. So I had an issue with men, but I wound up getting pregnant at 23 years old. and realized initially I was like, I'm going to give the child up for adoption. That was like my initial idea. But I wound up getting really sick. And I wound up delivering my son at 1 pound, 6 ounces. He was 25 weeks. We were in the hospital for 6 months. And I don't know what came over me. It was like this sense of like, when you're in it, you're just doing it. Like people are like, how are you handling this? And I'm like, I just did it. Didn't have a lot of emotion. Don't know if I was in shock. Brought my son home on low flow oxygen, feeding tubes. We were in the hospital for 6 months. It was very difficult for someone so young, right?
Yeah. No kidding.
So fast forward, I find myself in another relationship, very toxic relationship. But at that point in time, I realized I wanted to make money and stay home with my son because he was like severely, he had a lot of needs at that point. He then got diagnosed with level 3 autism, which basically means that he is going to require self-care for the rest of his life. I found out that there was money in wedding photography. I used to model when I was much, much younger, and they were like, my budget's $5,000. Who do you recommend? And it was like a light bulb. Like I was like, oh my God, like people can make money in wedding photography. Like we're told our whole lives people can't make money in art. So I was like, okay, I don't know what came over me because I used to model. I had a really big understanding about posing and lighting and all of these other things. And I went full throttle into it. And I left a very toxic relationship. There was a lot of infidelity. We had our photo and video business together. And if anybody's ever done that, it's hard. Like having your business with your spouse is like the hardest thing that you could possibly do. And I was really scared to leave that relationship because I was like, what's going to happen to my reputation? What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to the clients? And I stayed for a really long time until finally I was like, I need to leave. And I took on 100% of the business. A lot of the money was gone. I was actually in a lot of debt at that point. But I tell people, I was like, I was taking out loans. I moved back in with my parents, taking out loans just to be able to pay my employees and make sure my clients were covered because my reputation meant more to me than anything else. So fast forward, then I meet a gentleman, his name was Ryan. He's helping me with the business. I fall completely head over heels in love with him. But he did let me know really early on he was an alcoholic. Didn't really understand what that meant. I wasn't really like raised around that. So I didn't understand. Around COVID, he kept relapsing. And if anybody has experienced alcoholism, there's a wide range. But for some people, they're like, I cannot have a drop, or they become like, I didn't recognize his face. It was like he became a totally different person, and he was drinking and driving. He was getting arrested. And I was like, I don't know who this person is. Stupid me. I brought him onto the business, but I mean, I brought him onto the business and I was like, look, like if you keep drinking, I'm going to leave you. You're going to lose, our small little family. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose everything. Like, I don't understand why you keep doing this. And one day he drank and drove again. He wound up getting arrested. This was like his 5th DUI. And I didn't know all this information, but I find out all this information after. And he gets in trouble with the law. The law is like, you are going to prison. Like, you have 5 DUIs. I'm a very kind and loving person. And I was like, I'm going to be here and support you. Like, I'm not going to be with you anymore. I love you, but like, I can't do this anymore. But you can live with me. And one day I left, I ran some errands, and I came home and had found that he had taken his life on our living room couch.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a lot because it's like all of these things, like you've gone through all of these things. When you're going through grief, or when you've ever experienced something so traumatic, you don't know what to do, and you don't know who to turn to, and you don't know what is my next step. And for me, I was so lucky that I had people come into my life. My best friend, Nicole, she's also an amazing wedding photographer from Aspen Avenue. She lived with me for 6 months. She gave me love and support that I've never experienced from a platonic relationship before. I don't know what it was. I got to a point where And if I get emotional, it's okay because this is normal.
Yeah.
People, if anybody see me on the internet. I remember breaking down and getting on my knees and just saying, I just can't do this anymore. Like, I don't know, like, when does this stop? Like, when is like enough is enough? And they give the expression like God can only give you so as much as you can handle. But I was like, okay, like I'm good now. Like, and I call it God, universe. It was like an abundance of blessings that I have gotten since then. And when the bad days were happening, I did start writing out and journaling 3 things I was grateful for every day. And that really shifted my mindset early on of just being like, I'm happy to have a roof over my head. I'm happy that I was even able to get up today. I was happy that I was terrified all my clients were going to leave me. I don't know why, but I was like, people are not going to think that I can handle weddings anymore. But it was actually like the opposite for me. And I was like, I don't want to be a victim anymore. I want to be a survivor. I want to prove to the world and everything else that you can go through the worst possible things in your life and still come out on top. And I don't even know where to begin. I mean, the house is a perfect example of that. But I started posting my stories on the internet, and people were like, this whole story is taboo. Like, people don't talk about a lot of the things that you're talking about. And I wound up getting more clients, which shocked me because people were like, we feel like we can connect with you at an emotional level. We feel like we know you. So I started getting more clients, and it started giving me fulfillment as well because the people that were booking me were like, my dad is terminally ill and I don't know anyone else that would be able to handle this because I don't want people to treat me differently. I want people to treat me with love and understanding, but not make it weird. Because some people that have never experienced trauma don't really know how to handle like difficult situations. I also photographed like terminally ill people. I do end of life pet sessions, like things like that. And I just feel like while I don't wish any of those things had happened, or do I wish this upon anyone, I can definitely say for me, I have become a better person, and I have finally like found like that fulfillment in life in the sense of like, I felt like I was lost for such a long time and I kept blaming my past and kept blaming other people. But then now I'm like, I've learned to accept the bad things that have happened to me because I appreciate the good so much more.
Lauren, do you feel like, oh man, thanks for sharing. Thanks for
Sorry,
sharing
I'm sure
that.
that's a lot for some people.
No, I feel like that's going to connect with somebody really special. So thanks for sharing that. Do you feel like kind of having the hindsight there, like having all the pain and man, that feeling of like, oh, just like one thing after another, like gut punch after gut punch. Like, do you see kind of a redeeming like factor in there, seeing now that you've had these experiences and you have these clients coming to you, and you're having this connection because of what you've experienced? Like, are you able to see that now, like a redeeming kind of piece of it?
So there's a part of me that feels like I was playing like the martyr for such a long time. And redeeming, I guess I don't know if that would be like, is my favorite word only
Yeah.
because it's like I didn't deserve it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And but it has I hate to say like I don't think I would be where I'm at today if it wasn't for those things that had happened. Whether being a better parent, I have a lot more patience, being, a more talented photographer because I understand the concept of like feeling and emotion
Mhm.
more. The meaning of a photograph became so much more important than it was before all of that stuff happened.
Yeah, okay. Now we just got there. Like, this is where you and I were like, we're like a margarita in, and then I switched seats and I went and sat down at the other end of the table to hang out because I wanted to meet everybody. I didn't want to just have this one like super deep, cool conversation. But I'm so happy now that we're here because this is what I wanted to ask you in New York was, okay, you've been through all of this stuff and you've got this like fresh perspective on it. And also, like sidebar here, and I probably should have started with this, but you're remarkably talented. And I know a lot of people in this industry, Lauren, a lot of people that have really cool stories. There are a lot of people that land with a camera in their hands. And for some reason, like there is some therapy to being a photographer. We talk about it a lot in this podcast. There's also a lot of audacity to being a photographer, to like assuming that the world needs your vision. That's both a bold move and a very audacious move. But a lot of the influencers that we see, and I don't want to use that word insultingly or shallow, but like you've got over 500,000 people that are following you. You're very influential. A lot of them don't have the talent to really back up this big voice. So let's take all these experiences, this wild, like cool opportunity to take a baby that you almost gave up and like power through life with him and a complicated past with relationships and this very like painful moment where Ryan took his life and then like all of these things that have somehow empowered creativity in your life and like bring me to now, like what is it that you think fuels that creativity for you?
I mean, for the longest time, I felt like, oh, I could think about it. But that's such a powerful question that I have not been asked. Some of it was because I wanted to like forget everything. And for the longest time, photography did become my therapy. I like didn't want to be focusing on my past. And I was using photography to kind of just forget. And when I was in that mental state of shooting, I felt better and it gave me purpose rather than feeling like I'm this victim, I'm this person that has had all these bad things happen to me. And then the value of a photograph, number one, became so much more valuable. So the emotional component for me was like there more than I feel like a lot of photographers, which we'll kind of get into when it comes to social media and everything like that, because this next generation is looking for realness, emotional connection, authenticity, and emotion that people don't typically show. And I was shocked when people were like, we are inspired by your story. We love your vulnerability. We love your authenticity. And I was like, I don't know why it just hit me where I'm like, people don't do this. People don't do this in their work. People don't do this on social media. People don't typically show that emotional component of themselves. So I just kind of like went with it. And like I said, photography has also made me feel better and it gives me fulfillment and purpose, which is also why I educate myself at least once a year. And, you know, I go to events, I get mentors, I follow other people. So as far as what is my inspiration, I mean, my son is my inspiration because also he is going to require lifetime care. And if I'm not getting work, he won't be taken care of for the rest of his life.
It's heavy.
Someone tipped me the other day. It was like a relatively large tip. It was like $2,000.
Wow.
And I called them and I said, crying, like I always am. And I was like, his dad is involved, but he doesn't typically pay for a lot of the things. And I just said, I was stressed out because his braces and his therapy bill was due. And like, I do okay. Like I do well, like I do very well. But I was like, I just want you to know this paid and covered everything for him. And I called them and I told them that because it was like that moment of like, I've been through a lot. I've been through a difficult time. Like, gosh, I can't keep falling in hard times. And I was just like hit with another blessing. And that was just amazing. Same thing with the house. Like I would not have the ability to have a full-time employee if it wasn't for me having this house.
Hmm.
Come on. Okay. So here's what I'm stringing together from this whole conversation thus far, is that your whole story here, like your whole story as a photographer is a story of gratitude. I don't know if anybody's ever like taken the time to like tell you that, but it is truly, it's not strength and resilience that is powering you, although you clearly have a lot of that. But you keep coming back to just being grateful for things. And you know how cool that is? Like
It's so cool.
how that's really special. Okay, so now you have this like this very large following, and you've got all of these people watching you. And I would assume, does it feel does that feel like it comes with a lot of expectation?
For sure.
Um,
Like I definitely get more imposter syndrome sounds really bad to say, but I definitely am very picky about what I post because I do have so many followers, but for different reasons. Some people follow me because of my suicide loss stories. Some people follow me for my autistic son. Some people follow me because they're brides and grooms. Some people follow me because they're wedding photographers and want to be inspired. So sometimes I feel a little lost about like, what do I post? Is this good enough? Are people gonna like be like, she's a fraud and imposter? I know that sounds stupid to say, but people always think, also going back to gratitude, people always think having a lot of followers or when I reach that level, I'll be happy. Or if I make this amount of money, I'll be happy. And for me, like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. But like because I was able to find gratitude and thankfulness in like my most difficult moments, I feel like for me, I appreciate like the little things. Like, well, someone else might not. I mean, $2,000 is still a lot of money, but like, some people might be like, oh, like that's nothing. Like every wedding I get, every client I book, every thing, I'm always like, I'm just so grateful to even have these opportunities.
so Jared wrote down like in our pre-show talk, and we're like going back and forth trying to figure out like how do we get to kind of the core of who you are before we go into the after the pod thing and kind of talk more like more tangibly. But and he wrote down this question, and I kind of love this. It says, what role does vulnerability play in how you present your work and yourself online? And just a minute ago, you spoke to something that was really special where you said like, and I think, by the way, all of us, like all of the listeners are going to feel the same way. None of us know why people follow us, right? You don't need 500,000 followers to have that. None of us understand that like social media is this sort of like toxic well of people just pouring their own drink in and then asking you to drink it later. And you've done a really good job of like cohesion, it seems like, of allowing vulnerability to be a part of your story, whether you're a mom to a special needs child or whether you're I forget how you said it, but like a suicide survivor.
Yeah. Yeah. Suicide
sorry.
loss survivor. Yep.
There you go. Or whether you are speaking as an ambassador for Nikon or as an ambassador for, like any of your other programs that you work alongside, or as an active wedding photographer. So let me rephrase that question because I'm really interested to know the answer. Like, how then does vulnerability empower that stuff? How have you baked in the importance of you being vulnerable to who you are from like an ethos perspective as a creative?
I feel that people know that I will tell the truth, even if it's bad. So I feel like that's a huge contributing factor because, like with brands, I'm very picky about who I work with, number one. Number two, when I'm hired for a wedding, people know that I'm going to show up giving 110% of myself and being fully invested in who they are. And I'm not doing it strictly for money. Number three, when it comes to my influencers, or I'm sorry, my followers as an influencer, I want to inspire, I want to change the world. And I feel like everything that I have gone through was also meant to make a difference. Not that I wish that had happened to me, but when Ryan initially died and I was more into mental health, so many people were like, I didn't kill myself because of your story. I had multiple people send me private messages. One guy in particular comes up. His name was Rob. He sent me a message a few years back, and Ryan had passed away 5 years ago. He sent me a message about 2 years ago. And he said, I saw your story. I just want to let you know, because of your story, I didn't realize the impact that it would have in my family. I have a son, I'm married, and I just wanted to thank you, because if it wasn't for your story, I probably wouldn't be here today. So I know it's a lot and it's all different things, but I like making an impact. I like making a difference. And I want to always do things for the right reasons. And some of it comes with a struggle, right? Because it's like, you want to grow, you want to do well. At the same time, like, what I mean by that is sometimes I struggle, like, am I doing this for the right reason? And I don't know how to explain that other than being like, when people are watching you cry in the internet, I never want to have people have a moment where she's doing this for likes and views. So that's kind of where I was struggling with mental health for a really long time. And I kind of stepped out of that, not 100%, but a little bit more. But now I want to make it look like it, not maybe make it look like, but I want to make it a success story of, these are the things that I've been through.
Yeah.
You can go through the fire as well and get through it like on top. Or if you are a client, I will fall in love with you and your story. If your mom is sick, if there is something that you just don't feel comfortable talking about, I handle very difficult situations very well because of everything that I have been through.
That's good. Yeah, I imagine there's a balance there for sure that you probably have to keep in check. Do you have, I know we talked about this before when we were sitting across the table on our awesome rooftop in New York. I feel like you mentioned a lot about other people in your life, that like you're not doing this alone. Like you have an awesome team that probably keeps you accountable to a lot of those things.
Yeah. So I mentioned my best friend, Nicole, and she is that type of person where, like, she is that true friend, which is, she will tell you shit to your face, but stick up for you behind your back. She is the person that I call with good news. And she is the person that tells me, I love you, but you're wrong. Or I'll post something and she'll be like, I don't think that that's okay, or that's too much. And I do the same thing for her, because like you said, this whole, I don't want to say photography and videography like is fully toxic, but sometimes there are people that can be toxic. So you have to be careful who you're surrounding yourself with, and whether you own any sort of business. And for me, they have given me such a foundation, her especially, right? I also have a full-time girl, Mallory. She's my full-time employee. She helps me with the whole business. She also will put me in check if she feels like, let's not go that route, which is kind of why I stepped out of mental health. I wish I could go back. Mental health is a toxic place. Like, there's no easy way to be like, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel like I'm meant for a higher purpose and I still want to help. So I still have my story out there. I want to help other photographers. And everybody has gone through something in their life, right? And sometimes people will like blame that situation and be like, I'm not successful. I'm not a successful wedding photographer because this happened to me, and that's why I'm failing. But like, I want to be like, okay, listen to my story. I can tell you my story. You tell me what you're feeling, because mommy says that, she told you weren't good enough of a photographer or something. Like, come on. And I shouldn't say it that way, right? Because there are people that have gone through way worse things than I have. But I just want to be an inspiration for those types of people and see other people succeed. I mean, life is too short to make it about yourself. And I really, truly have just become obsessed with mankind. Like, also because when Ryan passed away, people came into my life that were like meant to come into my life that I probably would not have met any other way unless all of those series of events that had happened. But they all led me here. So once again, I'm so grateful for all of that.
there's a real story here. I mean, I feel like we could unpack this stuff for hours with you, but like genuinely, I think what I keep coming back to over and over again is the fact that you've been able to build this following and this business and this kind of life for yourself on what seems like a really solid foundation. Like it seems like you've got a really cool perspective on the world. And I would bet that, especially in some of the circles that you run, where a lot of the, and don't reach through the computer and hit me here, okay? But like a lot of the people that you're rubbing elbows with are younger than us, right? Like they're babies, and they're like day one into this industry, and they wake up and find themselves with 100,000 followers or 200,000 followers. What is it? I just am like genuinely curious. Before we, and like teaser alert here, when we jump into the exclusive content, we're going to be talking to Lauren a little bit about her following and about her process and how she truly has leveraged social media to build a powerhouse of a business. But how do you encourage people that are convinced that like the metric of their success is their follower count? Like before you help them succeed, how do you encourage them to find a healthy perspective on where to define success?
I mean, the Simon Sinek of like finding your why, number one, is so important because some people will do it for money, but then why, right? Or some people will do it for followers, but like, why? I think defining and writing down what your true purpose is, number one, for me, helped a lot. The people, if I'm speaking to like the older generation of photographers, I
calm
hate to
down.
say it that way, but it is true.
Easy.
Everyone starts at zero. Everyone. A lot of it, and we'll get into it kind of like you said, but some of it is just being consistent. For me, I tell people when you start to show your vulnerability and authenticity online, you are more likely to grow than if you just show pretty pictures. Because people are not just hiring you for just your pretty pictures. In a lot of cases, people want to know who you are. And if someone likes you, even if you mess up, which is a whole nother thing when I'm teaching my other like workshops and mentoring people, but like, let's say you mess up, because one of these days you will. If someone likes you, they are more likely to forgive you and treat you differently versus they just like you for your pretty pictures. To be a successful wedding photographer, and like I said, we'll get into it, so you have to stay for the exclusive content, but you need 4 things in order to get that, and only one of them is wow imagery. It's not, you need 4 things to grow and be on top, not just having beautiful photographs. So I guess you're like, well, how do I encourage these people? Some people don't want to be online. I'm not forcing you to do that. But if you want that high success and you're hungry for it, there are going to be a lot of factors that you need to put into your social media and your career. And the number one thing is actually even showing yourself online in the first place.
I'm like, I'm blown away. There's so many things I want to talk about. I think that like, let's just sort of paint this picture over the next 10 to 12 minutes. I think you and I are just going to spend some time trying to process everything that just happened.
There's a lot
maybe, maybe talk a little bit about then what's going to happen, the exclusive content that's going to happen over in the platform in PHOTOCO with her. Let's start though. Lauren's amazing.
Yeah. I didn't really know her very well. I mean, just our time that we spent in New York, it was just really cool to see. I feel like she's very vulnerable.
She leads like emotion first, which is refreshing.
Yeah.
Is that like, I feel like a lot of, I don't even know if I would say like the women, but maybe like ladies that are listening, can you like, let me know if this is an okay thing to say, but I feel like you almost need to have some tough skin to be in this industry. You get kicked around a little bit in this industry, and she really like leads with her heart on her sleeve.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, it was
kind of cool.
I thought it was cool to, I mean, obviously hearing her story, like so much heartbreak in that, but then to hear like the other side of things and really from the outside looking in, like seeing like how much she's impacting people from her story, like
Mhm.
from the stuff that's happened to her. One piece that she said that like really stood out to me, and I think we both like caught it, was just her gratefulness
Mhm.
and how immediately in my mind I'm thinking like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like I've talked about this with my wife and even my kids, you know, in our brains, when we actually practice thankfulness or gratefulness, like fear, it can't happen. Like it uses the same part of our brain. And so I'm hearing her talk and thinking through that, and like, oh, this is such a great principle to kind of grab onto. Is if man, if we could practice gratefulness and thankfulness, fear it just has no room. It
Mhm.
can't even be a part of our thought process. And oh man, I want to be better at that. But she challenged me in that.
Dude, I mean, I will echo that so much. Like, as we've built out all the new trainings and all the new platform stuff, and we just keep coming back to this idea of like holistic, like almost cohesive training for people, right? Like not just like making them $1 million, but helping them to see their art and their creativity as a part of who they are, like who they were
Mm,
created to be, helping them to like find purpose in struggle.
hmm.
And man, that whole talk, I felt like I was going through a masterclass of like the things I needed to hear from me,
Hmm.
which was cool. Because sometimes
Yeah,
I struggle with just the fear of things, like we always talk about like the imposter thing or whatever, right? When it's like, man, we have a
totally.
cool opportunity pop up. Yeah, we can't announce it yet, but like we had like a wild opportunity pop up this week.
Yeah.
And I immediately, what did I do? I immediately text you and I was like, Jay,
Uh-huh.
I'm panicking.
Yeah.
So
But we're
you're
gonna be
right.
grateful instead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean,
You
like,
know?
listen, if this sweet woman can go through the things that she did, like losing Ryan to, to suicide, like not just
Yeah.
losing him,
I
but like
mean,
losing him in that way.
just next level.
Um, having this little boy that she almost didn't, like she almost
Mm,
chose to not have him, and then like seeing the blessing that Noah is in her life, and also knowing like I mean, the autism that's a real struggle.
mhm.
And then like I think this begs to be said, because a lot of times I think we give like moms and women just in general, we like tip the hat to them, but we need to say this. Lauren is really freaking talented.
She is. Yeah, she's really, really good
Like her
at what she
photography
does.
blows me away. I think she mentioned, I can't remember if it was in the after the pod or if it was like our initial conversation with her, which that's a quick little plug. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what went on there, but I think she mentions how unique it was for her to find herself in this space as a female photographer shooting a lot of off-camera work, like off-camera
Mhm.
flash.
Mhm.
Um, but while she was talking about that, I was on her Instagram and I was just like scrolling through her photos. And I'm like, this is like iconic, like
It's really good.
legendary work. It's so good. And and she does such a paradox there between being the mom and the woman that will cry and talk about
Mhm.
these moments. And
What
then
did you think about what she said about, which I know you can relate to this, but I mean, she's got 500,000 followers, when she talked about like having a hard time knowing like what to be, like because she like fixed all these different
yeah.
pockets of people,
Hmm.
like just connecting with those who are hurting, connecting with Nikon photographers.
Hmm.
Like, what did you think about all that? Because that does
I
seem very overwhelming.
It's a struggle. Listen, I mean, I have far less. I mean, like, she doesn't just have, she's got 500,000 followers on Instagram, but she has 850,000 on TikTok, right? So, like, 1.4 million people that are waiting, hanging on her next. That's a lot of pressure.
Hmm.
And I don't have anywhere near that. But Jay, like, I struggle with those moments where I'm like,
Hmm.
hey, I'm a super proud soccer dad. Like, my kid scores a goal. I want to be able to share it with my people and be like, hey, guys, this just happened in my life. And then the reality is, like, often those things just flop. The algorithm looks at you and slaps you across the face and says,
Uh-huh.
like, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of, I don't know, it takes a lot of courage to just like, not to have the guts to say who you are and to say you're multifaceted, but to allow those facets to be a part of your business, even
Yes.
when, like, she talks more in the after the pod about tangibles, like
Yep.
actual
She's very
ways.
strategic.
Yeah, well, like ways to go viral. Which I was sitting there taking notes on notes on notes. Like, by the way, Lauren, when you listen to this, we are about to jack some of your principles.
Yeah.
Like,
Seriously.
you're
Like,
about to
okay.
see us do some stuff. But like, I think that you can see it now where sometimes she just shares content because it's who she is.
Mhm.
And that's pretty cool. I would
Yeah.
assume over time, maybe hopefully like the algorithms just adjust for that. I don't really know, man,
I don't know
but I get the
either.
feeling she doesn't care, which is
Yeah,
which is
right.
cool. That
She's
she's
very
just like, hey,
she's confident.
just gonna be
She's
who
very
I am.
confident. Yeah, I think one of our biggest takeaways just from that short conversation that we're gonna have her back because there's so much more.
100%.
I mean, we didn't even get into like her Nikon stuff, like which I have so many questions that I want to know about that world. But I think just probably my biggest takeaway is that we all have a story. We all have things that have happened to us, and I think in my mind, just being a Jesus follower, I think that God wants to use that stuff in my life for good. Like, I think He
Yeah.
wants to use the experiences that I go through, you know, and that God is that big that He can use something so terrible, like some of the things that Lauren experienced. He can use those things in people's lives and somehow encourage others through it. And so I guess my challenge would be for our listeners is don't be afraid of your story and know that that it can be used in a huge way, and you know, you can become grateful for it, and fear can leave in those things. So that's kind of what I take away from that.
Dang, I'm not even going to attempt to bring anything more to it than that. I am gonna hook you guys, listeners, into then what happens in the after the pod, because Jared, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, she has this story. I wish I could sum it up in, like, I keep trying to think of like a 4-word, like, how do I sum this up? And I all I can get to is like, it's not despite, but it's because.
Mm.
Like, she doesn't fight her story. She just says, like, I went through this, and now who I am is like not maybe not empowered, but it's, I don't know. It's like educated because of it. It's
Yeah.
beautiful to watch it. So then what happens, you guys, over in the exclusive content, and this is an obvious plug. If you're not currently a member of the Photographic Collective, you guys, the doors open on August the 15th. The first 50 members will receive special forever pricing. And we're going to lock that in because we want those founding members to be really taken care of. We're going to be doing special things for those members forever. But you guys, when you click over on August 15th and you open the platform, there are going to be a few things waiting for you that we're really excited about. But one of the things that's going to be waiting for you is exclusive content. It's about a 10 to 15 minute conversation with Lauren, all about how she, like, deep diving, how she has utilized social media to scale the value of her business.
Like practical, like steps that we all can do that we're excited. Like we said earlier, like we are totally jacking some of these ideas. It's going to be awesome.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I love the fact that she told us that she did that. Like, she tells us in the after pod, you know, she gives us a couple of examples of like real principles or things that she has done that have been like viral ready. She actually, you guys, here's a hook.
Yeah.
She actually tells us how to find the trends that are coming, which is, I mean, it's so simple. Like, it is so simple how that, I'm blown away. She's like showing it to us, and I'm just sitting back in my seat, and I'm like, that's it?
What?
Like, that's all you have to do? And she's like, yeah, I mean, that's how you see the future. I'm like, it's wild. Anyway.
Yep.
So, well, man, I want to say thank you, Jared, to you. This is a different feel to this podcast, I think, because both of us are just determined to talk less and listen more.
Yep.
It feels different, right? It feels like we're sort of sitting here sort of in an uncomfortable position, but we want to bring these people's stories to the forefront,
Yeah.
and listeners, we want you guys to have like unrestricted access to the knowledge of these incredible people. So we've got a few really exciting guests coming up, and I think we can plug them. We can go ahead and say a few. Do you want to
Sure.
kiss and tell a little bit?
Yeah. Well, we got Summer Grace coming up. She'll be on our podcast soon, which I'm actually really pumped about that
That's
conversation.
always a favorite. She's one that oh man, the relationship with her has just grown into something so cool. She is a smart, she is a
Yeah.
businesswoman.
Yeah. We won't give away too much of that conversation. But we just know that big things are popping. You want to be a part of it. Come join us over in the Photographic Collective. Be a part of that group. It's going to be so worth it. And you're definitely going to want to be in the after the pod with Lauren. So we'll see you there. Okay.